uh, possibly, that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's more in front of the house.
Gotcha.
Yeah, over this, to the left of that, I think you'll see the brick where the new driveway would mostly be.
Gotcha.
It would be
But
the
anything
very,
out in front of any driveway out in front of the building would be brick.
okay, so it would be crossing brick, and then the asphalt would start like from there towards the back.
Yeah. Right to front
I have
door.
a question about the porch and the steps.
Okay.
Will those steps intrude any closer to the street than any of the existing homes in the immediate vicinity? I'm not sure if you're understanding what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I understand. I can't say. Maybe I would think there'd be at least one additional rise.
Because, yeah, because in the drawing, you're showing that this is showing the 6-foot porch to the property line, correct? If I look at your plan.
Yes.
But then if we look at the floor plan, the first floor plan, and mostly I'm going to go and pull over the elevation. You see, you have that also going pretty much onto the sidewalk. If this is
Yeah.
And that probably comes out another 4 or 5 feet.
Well,
yeah.
I don't have a problem with something of a setback, and I don't have a problem with the roof. As it is, this is Kevin, I would like to see how it looks in relation, just a little rendering sketch of the front view in relation to the other homes.
okay.
And, then I'll have a better idea of how big is too big in terms of being proportional and in context with the other homes in that street.
Yeah, because actually this is and you're correct, this is the one dimension that we don't have on the plan. We have the width, we have the depth of the porch. The one dimension we don't have, although we can extrapolate from the scale, that's probably 4 feet or 3.5 feet, is how far this extends onto the sidewalk.
Right.
And again, for scale, it's not that there is, you can see these are sort of like 1, 2, 3. I think in that case, we have sort of 4, so it'll probably be coming at this point.
Is there lack of a better word, an ordinance that says how much sidewalk needs to be there? How much you're allowed to take up before you intrude on the sidewalk? Walk?
Yeah, the city council, it gives easements for sidewalks, but then generally speaking, with the ADA, we try to keep a 5-foot sidewalk.
Gotcha.
So let me just, and Layla, just going back to the driveway
Yes.
with the asphalt. So can we just have clarification on, or is that an approved material for us to use?
I think typically we say when it's visible from the public right of way, the preferred approach is potentially maybe to have like grass berms or brick and grass berms in between, as opposed to asphalt, because the idea is to try to minimize asphalt next to the building. And I believe when we look at it, it's hard to tell because we can see in the plan, we don't know how far they intend to bring the asphalt. We do have rules that it should be separated from the building at least a certain minimum amount, in terms of number of feet. So the preferred option in other times has been sort of to carry the brick, the brick kind of goes through maybe 2 strips with green strips, because that is very visible. We kind of extended maybe like halfway or a third to go back.
So based on, it sounds like, and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but it sounds like we need more renditions of what this house looks like compared to the neighboring homes, as far as front porch, stairs, and height. And before I think the commissioners can make a decision. Does that, am I hearing that from me? I'm going to say that would be the case, but I don't want to speak for the rest of you.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't have a problem with, this is Kevin, I do not have a problem with, the overall external appearance of the house. I'm concerned about how it sits relative to the street and the sidewalk. And I do want to have some sense about how different it is from the existing adjoining houses. There is I think we invite differences. It's a question of whether the differences are too great and completely out of proportion, but we don't have that information, and I can't make a decision on what I'm.
Right, so, so my
I was gonna make a
recommendation is we can table the application. And what we do when we table the application is that the applicant must provide additional information required by the Historic Area Commission for additional review no later than 10 days prior to the next scheduled public meeting to be included on the agenda. So my recommendation would be we make a motion to table this application, and then the applicant can get us the additional information we're all looking for. And then as long as they get it to us 10 days prior to the next meeting, they will be on the agenda next month under old business, and we can have further discussion. So
Can we give him a list of what other information
correct,
we want, so he knows what to get? And
right,
whether he's able to get it within 10 days of the next meeting?
right. So it
Well,
sounds like,
with regard to this, Bill Walters again. I'm getting the feeling that from various comments that you'd get a great deal more comfortable in the impact of, you know, what we have now are elevations, side elevations, and so on. But if we had something to the Scanis brothers, that is kind of the opposite of a reflected ceiling plan. In other words, just show us from above the property line and the roof line of the porch and where the steps come in and so on. That would give a lot of people some comfort, because I have a feeling that it's going to be a straight line, in line with the rest of the with the rest of the houses. But if you could demonstrate that for them, it would give some comfort, I think.
I don't want to just see it from the top. I want to see it in relation to the other buildings going across the front too. So I'm looking for
That's
something.
what I just said.
Okay, all right.
A facade,
Right.
and a site plan showing the adjoining properties.
And then
Okay.
And-
just, you know,
And I would like him to be clear about where those steps fall out in
Sure.
relation to the sidewalk and the other steps.
That's what this will show. It'll show any encroachment past
Well, I
past
want
the
the
front line.
Scanis to say that.
Yeah, I
Yes,
hear
yeah,
it.
I think I understand what you're looking for. Yes, we'll provide that.
And do we have a
And-
question about materials on the?
yeah,
exterior?
the only other thing I'm going to ask for is can you get a sample, and then everyone's going to have to figure out how to see this, but I want everyone to see hardy plank. So if you haven't seen it or felt
Okay.
it, if you can get us a sample of the hardy plank and leave it at the city office, I'd greatly appreciate that as well.
Okay.
And-
I
and then-
think, what if, excuse me, while we're on materials, didn't we specify possibly Anderson Series 100 on the side and the rear windows? Would you consider that? The Fibrex windows?
Typically, anything that's visible from the public right of way, and on one side, those windows are visible from the public right of way, those windows should be wood.
Yeah, I
And the
thought they were Geldwin all the way around.
Yeah, I thought they were Geldwin too as I was looking at them.
Okay,
The rear elevation, yeah.
yeah, I just didn't understand your policy on that. Well, let me answer, when would the sidewall not be visible from the public right of way?
It would be mostly, in your case, it would be the back. And again, that's when if we see the street elevation, that's when we'll be able to have because you do have a 10-foot setback, which means as you're walking from the street, you get to see more of a proportion of the sides of the buildings.
Yeah.
The rear
Mhm.
elevation is the one where you have more exceptions. And by the way, when you're working with your architect who did the drafting before the next meeting, if you want to email like sketches, or if you want to have a chat with Jeff and myself as to, hey, does this work? Is this enough? I mean, it seems straightforward, but if he has any questions
Mhm.
before that, please feel free to email Jeff and myself. and would be more than happy to, say, to give feedback or have a conversation.
Mhm. Okay, that's good. Hey, two other things. Can Jeff maybe provide me with some addresses of where I could see this driveway you're requesting? Because I'm having a hard time picturing it. You say they have been done in some other properties?
You mean samples of street elevations?
Driveways.
No, well,
Oh, driveways, yes, yes.
driveway material, the
Oh, yes.
driveway material. or
Yeah, we
driveway
can send you that, yeah.
Okay. And,
And-
one last thing. Part of the application was for permission to demolish the existing garage. If you're okay with that, could you approve that this evening? And we could at least be working on that?
I
Jeff,
would,
do we approve that?
Oh, I just assumed you
Yes, the
did.
Historic
Typically,
Area Commission has to approve it.
and I would have no qualms about the, I mean, I don't have any concerns about the demolitions of the garage.
All right, so it's going to
But-
be,
Let
it'll,
me say something. I need to say something. The Diascanis brothers need to understand that this house may not get approved.
Yeah.
And they will have knocked down a garage. That's their risk. They need to understand that.
Yeah. And because the other thing that I was going to suggest, and it is up to the applicant, but when they do those elevations, and if they do send them to us, Jeff and I can do a consultation and look at it. And we will tell you if by looking at it, I would think that at the meeting, I would say it's too much and I cannot recommend it be approved. So maybe that would allow you to do some modifications before the next meeting and perhaps come to a consensus. So if you, it is up to you, obviously, should you want to do that. But I
Yeah.
would recommend that we do a consult on that and have a sidebar with the designer and see to come, if we can, if there are issues, let's come to something that I'd be happy to come to the commission and say, we've talked about it and I do, I would support this design as conforming with the guidelines.
Okay, sounds fine. Yeah.
okay, so I just want to make sure that the applicant is clear on, why don't you share with us what you think you need to get us, just so we make sure that you understand what needs to take place. So you're going to get us, what are you going to get us by 10 days before the next meeting?
You want a sample of the hardy plank I plan to use. You
Yep.
want an elevation streetscape showing the scale of our proposed home in relation to the neighboring homes on the left.
Yep.
And also in sort of an aerial visual of the proposed home and where it will sit on the lot and how much the steps might project into the right of way.
Perfect.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to make the motion then again. As Kevin had said too, we just want to be clear. We could certainly give you approval. We'll do two votes here to demolish that garage, but we just want you to recognize that the home that you've presented today may not be the home that gets possibly approved. I'm not saying it will or won't. I just want to make sure you're clear on that
Yeah, I understand.
as you're about to demolish the garage. I'm assuming you're going to demolish the garage anyway, and you're going to put up a house that's going to be favorable there, but just want to make that clear. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, we
All right.
understood. We understood that.
thank you. All right, so I'm going to do,
Can I
gonna
just
do-
sidebar for a second? We do have a hand raised for comment. Did you want to do that before you do a motion?
okay, so this is public comment.
Well, there's somebody that has their hand raised, yeah.
Okay, you can bring on the, individual. They just need to state their name and address for the record, please. Can you
Tom
unmute them, Kim?
Chambers,
Hello.
Yeah, hi, is this Mr. Chambers?
Yeah, it is. Sorry.
It's okay. Can you just state your name and your address for the record, please?
Thomas Chambers, my home address, 1818 Sawmill Drive, Wilmington, Delaware.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Can you guys see me at all, or because I can see you, but I don't see me on the screen?
It doesn't
Not
look
that
like
you
your
wanna see me
videos.
either.
I don't know if your video's on.
As long as you can hear me, that's fine. You'd probably be better off not seeing my ugly face, but
Okay,
That's
we can see, we can hear you. So
awesome.
you go ahead and ask your question.
Excuse me, this is
Uh,
Kathy. Excuse me one
That
moment.
was, that
Mr.
was my,
Chambers, Mr. Chambers, can you please give me your street address again? I didn't catch it.
it's 1818 Sawmill Drive.
Okay. In Wilmington. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're ready for your question, sir.
That was my question. I was just wondering if you, if I needed to be seen on the video there or not. So,
Nope.
okay.
So you have no questions for the applicant. I just want to make sure.
Me having questions for you?
For the applicant, for the application we're discussing now, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna do 2 votes. One is to give approval for the demolition. So I'll make a motion that the applicant at 46 East 3rd Street can begin the demolition of the current structure.
Begin and complete.
Yes, that would be good.
Begin and
okay.
complete.
Okay. We'll begin it and complete it at 46 East 3rd Street. Can I
I
have,
second the motion.
thank you. Can I have just a voice vote for each person?
Kevin Wade says aye.
Thank you.
That was Bill.
Okay,
Justin Des says aye.
okay. And Laura says yes. All right, so demolition, start and finish. It's done. The second motion I'm gonna make is that we table the applicant until the next meeting. And again, by tabling it, it gives the applicant the opportunity to get the additional information which they stated to us previously 10 days before the next meeting so that they can get on the agenda, and then there'll be old business on our next agenda in September. So that is my motion.
And also the applicants acknowledge the information that he is to deliver.
Correct. Can I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All right, let's just do a voice vote here. Justin,
Aye.
that was Bill. Justin,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
and Laura says yes. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Rocky and Paul. And again, if you have any questions, it sounds like you can get in touch with Jeff and Layla.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that we have all the information available at the next meeting and can maybe at that point make a final decision for you.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Okay. Well, good evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Great.
Um,
I will share my screen and bring up the agenda again.
yep. I just need to take a note for 1 sec.
Sure.
Okay. All right. I mean, it's probably to make this easy, we're just going to do these in order. So is someone on the line for 419 William Street?
Yes.
Okay. So can the person who's on the line for 419 William Street please state your name and the address?
Reverend Burnett Dickerson.
Okay.
15 Albany Avenue, Newcastle, Delaware.
Thank you. So So briefly, just, I think we have your application and we have some drawings. So just a brief overview of what you're looking to do.
Just put a door
We
up.
just want to replace our front door on the church.
Mm-hmm.
And we sent the picture of what we were going to replace it with.
Are these the same pictures? Okay. All right, so you're looking to replace these 2 red doors we're looking at on the Williamside Street.
That is correct.
Okay. With these, let me just, with these fir. So, Leila, just out of curiosity, why wasn't this a tier 1?
It should have been a tier 1. If it's a wood door, then it should have been a tier 1. I think there was a question just because the design is so distinct and because there is going to be, you know, a mail slot and there's some hardware that's potentially atypical, but it is meant to be there for the building, that the idea was perhaps Hack would want to be able to look and confirm that that was okay. So being a wood door is appropriate in this location. It's just because of specificities of, you know, what they're putting, you know, in terms of framing. I think Jeff can clarify that, but also some of the compelling elements they were putting because of the use, that's perhaps a little bit atypical. And if Hack is okay with us making those as a tier 1 determination, you know, in the future, then that would be fine.
All right, so when I'm looking at this Union Wholesale Supply Company, so these are exactly what the doors are going to look like. Is that my understanding at the bottom?
That is correct.
Okay. And then you have a mail slot currently. You're just putting in a mail slot, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then Layla, what about the hardware? Is it because it's brushed, or I mean, it's hard to, you know, I can't even visualize what it's going to look like, but.
Yeah. And I think, and Jeff, so we were talking a little bit about the sort of the details of some of the trim, correct, Jeff? As we were discussing
Yes.
a little bit earlier. And
That's correct.
so just because, you know, it's going to be a wood door, but it is going to have sort of more some of the modern hardware features because of the use and because it's being the church and the activities. So I don't really know exactly what the color of, you know, we don't definitely get into that kind of detail. It's just that they will be a little bit more hardware that's going to be on it than would be typically on a door, you know, a more classic, traditional Newcastle door. That's all. The fact that it's, you know, a certain finish versus another is not as much as relevant as the fact that we do have all these different elements that are poked into the door. So that's where that was coming from. When we discussed this with Jeff, we thought, well, perhaps Hack would want to be, you know, just understand where we're coming from.
Okay, well, it's hard to me to visualize, but does anybody have any questions? It's hard to visualize the hardware because I don't exactly know what it's going to look like. So
Is
I mean,
new?
my understand it's just going to be a regular, I'm assuming a little gold mail slot and a doorknob. Nothing
Nothing
that
fancy. Okay.
that fancy.
Reverend, it seems that what you're describing is very similar to what's being shown on the door at the moment.
Yes.
It is.
Thank you.
Could one say that the new door going up is more appropriate than the old door?
It's more sturdy.
And also in a sense, because it will have sort of a more classic design and less of the kick plates on it.
Right.
I don't believe there are any kick plates put on it. So yes, that would definitely be an improvement.
Good, great.
I think it's good to go.
Yeah.
Bill, do you have any questions?
No, I'm in agreement. It's good to go.
Okay. All right. So Layla, I'm going to say in the future, this could probably be a tier 1.
Okay. Noted.
So, you know, I appreciate you bringing it forth. All right. So can I just have a motion?
I'll second it. Oh, well, I'm sorry. You got to make it first.
What would you like the motion to say? And then I'm sure I can find a second for you.
My tea is wearing off. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. So like a motion would be
I know.
to approve the application as presented or something.
I'll make the motion to approve as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
All right. All right. So then, Justin, I'm assuming you're a yes.
Yes. Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
and then Laura's a yes. All right. Thank you for attending. Your application has been accepted as presented, and go enjoy your new doors.
Thank you very much.
Well, will they need a permit will be given to us, or do we need to pick it up, or how's that?
I think they'll mail it to you. Am I correct, Jeff?
Yes, I would absolutely be mailed to you.
Okay. To the 419?
Correct.
Or I can email it to you if you provided an email address.
Yes. I would prefer email.
Yes.
Okay, well then, we'll just get to that tomorrow.
Okay, great.
All right. Thanks, ladies. Have a lovely evening.
Bye-bye.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
evening.
Bye.
Bye. So next on the agenda is 206 Delaware.
Yes. So
And there's a question from, just in the chat box in the question, Dwayne and Aaron, how should we go about speaking when it's our turn? I think that, oh, well, they're here, so we're good. The question has been answered.
they just have to unmute them. There they are.
Okay, we're here. Hello, everyone.
Hi, welcome. Okay, so next on the docket, 206 Delaware Street, and we have the current owner. So if you would just state your name and the property address, please.
Okay, so it's Aaron Vetterman, Dwayne Foster. It's 206 Delaware Street. I'm Dwayne Foster.
Thanks. Hi, nice to meet you. Welcome. So tell us a little bit around, I think Layla's going to pull it up, but tell us a little bit about your project and what you need to do here.
So I think it's pretty straightforward. Hopefully all the documentation is in for you guys. We're just having a new roof put on. That was something that came up on the original inspection, that it needed to be replaced. It's in poor condition, and we've definitely experienced the veracity of that over the past couple storms. So we've got leaking in the house and flooding in the basement, and so it definitely needs to be replaced. And then the other issue that came up on the inspection is a window on the rear, like park facing side of the house. Third floor. On the third floor, is the wood is rotting around it and needed to be replaced. So it's, I think it should be on the application, but with a picture, was it like some 200 feet? It's only visible 200 some feet from the rear side of the house. Yeah. So it's definitely not visible to the public right of way. Yeah, pedestrian or public right of way. So we need to have that fixed, and we were going to elect to have that. It's not right in front of me, our application.
The mastic cedar impression
right
siding, as opposed to actual cedar for the purpose of future maintenance, ease of future maintenance.
But,
And
and I do apologize. I got kicked out and I bumped back into the meeting. So I'm trying, that's why I'm scrolling madly and hopefully not getting anybody,
There we are.
Oh, and we also need to obviously replace the
the melting shutter.
The shutters that are like melting off. So.
And just to be clear, I think your shutter is an unfinished wood shutter, if I remember correctly. But you are talking for the siding about a vinyl product, correct? It's a stamp, but it's a vinyl product.
It is a cedar impression vinyl product, correct? It is on the back. The picture just above shows. That's the photo from the very, very back of our driveway, which is a private driveway. The window circled there.
Yeah. Laura, do you want me to jump in, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, I think, in terms of what you want to do, I think the wood louvers are fine. So that was the first thing. And I think the other, so yeah, the new roof, that's sort of a non-issue. The siding, normally the one thing is I'm not saying because it's that far back that you can't use an alternate material. But vinyl is just a blanket, not appropriate within the historic district, whether visible or not visible from the public right of way. So if you want to go with some kind of, hardy plank or anything of that type of material, just typically vinyl is one of the products that's just not appropriate at any place location within the historic district. So alternate material, yes, but not vinyl, even if it has cedar impression, that's all.
Okay. We just didn't know that. So
Yeah, and that's, as I said, that's fine. You can go, it is a discrete location. It's far up there. It's in the back. It'll be an improvement. So and you don't need to come back to the commission with that. Any alternate material, and the commission could recommend that, and then that would be fine.
Okay. Which means, so sorry, it's our first time here. So meaning
Sure.
hardy plank, if we went with that, we wouldn't need to come back to you.
No, you wouldn't need to come back. The commission can make a recommendation that should be approved as such, and then we can process that.
Okay,
Well, Jeff would process that way, yes.
that sounds great to us.
I'd like to make sure you're not being misled by a subcontractor or contractor. You have questions about the material.
Yeah.
Give a sample to the city engineer, Jeff Bergstrom.
Sure. I mean, and to be fair, Jeff Bergstrom had this company do his personal roof as well. So he does.
Well, that would wave me off.
Yeah.
So I just want to be clear that, on your bid sheet here, you'll list all the individual components, right? So Layla, just if you can go to the John Steele quote. So you're the number one, the Tam Shield synthetic shingle, the roofing material is fine. I just want to make sure we go through these, right? Okay, so this is good. Then flashings, blah blah blah.
Yeah, because it's
Oh,
like
that was just all the roof work.
it's the shingles, the Heritage Series, that is fine.
Yep.
We're going through all the nails, and I think this is where this is where they talk about the materials. Now, this is one where obviously one sees the delta between the cedar versus the pricing that they gave to actually put actual cedar siding on the dormer. So you looked at that as an alternate, but these are the materials that they're proposing. So the vinyl cedar impression is not. The wood obviously it would be a preference, but this is a case where the guidelines do say that should you want to, in areas that are not too visible from the public right of way and are discrete, that alternate materials are acceptable. In that case, something like hardy plank or similar.
So it's either number 3 or it's hardy plank.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so let's jot down hardy plank. We'll have to ask John Steele, I guess, what that costs.
Yeah, and they would know. I mean, that's something that everybody would be familiar with that. They're different. Hardy plank is more of a brand name. I won't put that, but there are other types. There are other types of, just say, I prefer some that have more engineered wood content. So just tell them engineered wood siding.
Okay.
And there you might see there's some options there that might be more competitive and that just are more sort of like environmentally friendly.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which are really which we're sort of trying to encourage too.
Okay.
So, and then the shutters were fine.
Yeah, the shutters were unfinished wood louvers.
Yeah.
Which were up at the front.
I have a question. Is the pattern, the inset, the dimension on the replacement shutters close enough to what is being removed?
The shutters are exactly the same size lengthwise than the shutters that are being removed.
But to that question in terms of so we're looking.
Yes, correct. They're exactly the same height as those would be.
And width?
The width, I believe I haven't been able to get up there and actually physically measure those shutters, but I believe they're exactly the same.
I mean, because the idea is you would want them to be, there's always that thing when you have shutters that are very narrow compared to a window and you realize that, there's that disconnect because if I close you, even nobody ever will, but if I close you, you're not going to cover that window. So there's a bit of a, but to your question, Kevin, at least the breakdown, although these seem to be 50-50 as opposed to the existing, which are like slightly taller and then shorter, but they have been approved in that way, in terms
That's
of.
fine.
We are replacing all 4 on that second floor, so
So they'll all be consistent.
they'll all be consistent.
And those
then
are
the
wood
top floor are the
shutters.
shorter ones, yeah.
And
and they're
those are,
wood
they're wood shutter, okay.
All right, any other questions? So I believe the motion is going to be approved with conditions. So basically, I'm going to just go piece by piece here for the motion. So the motion is to approve the application with conditions. And we are approving as presented the shutters, the roofing as presented, and for the siding, right? Am I on the right
Yeah,
thing?
the dormer siding,
The
the
siding,
vinyl.
right. The current mastic vinyl cedar impression is not being approved.
Mhm.
We're either approving number 3 on your list, which is
Wood.
all new cedar siding, or look at other engineered wood siding.
Mhm.
So that's the motion.
Laura, will they need to ask for an approval of the engineered wood siding replacement they may look at? Is there any engineered wood siding that would not be acceptable?
I mean, and typically Jeff could make some recommendations. You do want sort of the finish to be similar to what would have been appropriate. So usually if you look at engineered wood siding for historic districts, that I think that should not be an issue. And they can always get a sample and run it by Jeff, who's seen many a sample like that. So I don't anticipate that would be a problem. If it's an engineered wood that looks like vinyl siding, then yes, we would have an issue. But the idea would be no, it would be like an appropriate engineered wood siding. I think that should cover it. And then Jeff, you could always give, look at the sample and give an okay on that.
Of course.
So we'll add that to the with conditions. So we're going to ask you to get a sample. If you're not going to do the cedar siding, we will ask you to get a sample of the appropriate engineered wood siding so Jeff can give his check.
Okay.
Just want to make sure you're.
Yeah, these guys are new in town. I don't want to see them stumble into a
Oh
problem.
yeah, no, I totally understand. It was a good point. So, so that would be, that's the motion. And we're including the check with Jeff Bergstrom in the motion.
Mhm.
Can I have a second on that?
I second.
Okay. We're gonna do a vote. Justin,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
and then Laura's an aye. All right, well, welcome to town. You brought a lovely place, and I know you're going to be doing a lot of work to it, but we look forward to, I hear good things coming out of there. So we'll look forward to having you welcome us to see your home sometime.
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
all.
Have a
Welcome
great
to the
evening.
castle.
You too.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So next would be 122, 124 Delaware Street. Constructing a
Yeah.
pergola on the flat roof and a rear yard pergola.
Yeah, so
And I think at that point, between 3 and 4, about also installing a housing structure at the back, they're sort of like, they're separate application, but they're concurrent review.
it'll be the same person too, probably
Yeah.
speaking. So is Mr. Boland on the line?
I'm trying not to scroll too fast because I got kicked out of the Zoom meeting. Everything froze and I got readmitted. And I was like, what's
I'm
going on?
just
I was like,
seeing Linda, Gavin, and Tom Chambers in the room now.
Are any of them here to speak on 122, 124 Delaware Street?
No,
No?
no.
Hello.
Hello?
I'm here, but I don't think I can speak on Al's behalf as far as what it looks like he's applying for here.
Okay. Ruh-roh. Okay, so the applicant is not here. We have one or two choices. We can discuss the application and make recommendations, or we table it and ask for additional information and ask to come forth next month.
I make a motion to table it.
All right, but do we want any additional information?
Well, we want him to be here.
No, I,
We don't
Well-
understand what he wants to do if he doesn't use his own mouth.
right.
well, I mean, attendance to the meetings by the applicant is recommended, but Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not necessarily required, correct?
Yeah, there's nothing in the rules that says they have to show up.
Right. So, I
But I
mean,
have no idea what he wants to do.
The-
So I vote no. So,
Yes, that's the right answer, Kevin. The
Right.
problem is that if after somebody's been sitting around for some period of time, I think it's 45 or 60 days, they win by default.
Mhm.
So if you can't get enough information off the application to approve it, what you should do is deny it,
deny it.
Yeah,
offer them the chance to come back next time.
you can always appeal it, yeah.
But if
Because-
he denies,
has he been here with us before? I mean, have we?
yeah, he was here in June. He actually, they didn't have,
Not for
they were,
this.
he was here in June for the back area that they redid. So he did speak to us about another project.
I mean, I think the one thing is because we do have, I mean, there is information here enough for at least me to tell you my recommendation on this application and the next one, if we want to do that because we are together. And again, you know, as was pointed out, if no action is taken on it, it can become de facto after 60 days. If it's not rejected, it can be considered approved. The fact that the applicant was not present should not be justification for rejecting it because it's not mandatory. So,
No, but we
Without
take a
prejudice.
vote. No.
Yeah.
We take a vote. And I don't want to discuss and understand something where the owner or the person responsible isn't here to explain it. So I'll vote no on the application. I'd rather not. I'd rather know what he wants to do, but he's not here.
Well, Bill, I mean, Kevin, sorry. I mean, we always ask what the applicant wants to do, and a lot of times the information is on here. So is there something on here you want clarification on? Because
No, I don't know whether he put everything here that he wants to do. I don't know that he understands everything that he's put on the application.
if I may,
Others may feel differently. That's my viewpoint.
if I may, just as a point of clarification, and obviously you can decide as commission members how you want to proceed. When we have an application and there's elements on it, we review it. We, at least me as a professional, make a comment, let you know what I have on it, whether I can make a determination or not, or whether we need more information. The fact that an applicant is not present during the meeting cannot factor unless we say, well, then we've talked, we see what's missing, and then we will ask for more information. Sometimes the applicant is not present, but the application itself has enough information. I see enough in this application to at least make a determination on our end of whether we think it would be appropriate or not. And I think that's something that then afterwards, what we can't say, unless you make the determination that you reviewed it and you think you don't have enough information, the fact that the applicant is or is not present cannot be sort of a primary factor. It has to be a secondary factor, like they're not here enough to give us verbal explanation, and thus I cannot support this application. That's just in terms of like, you know, protocol when we're doing this. So
Right.
from that
I mean,
end,
Yeah, I think we need, since it was presented with information, that we do need to discuss it. And then we can make a determination if people need more information, we can do that. So why don't we discuss it? Because I think we have some information, especially on the second one, but let's just talk about these pergolas first.
okay. So the idea is that he wants to put 2 pergolas. One which
Right.
would be a pergola added, now we do have a skewed drawing, but one pergola that would be added to his back, you know, back top of the back porch, and then another pergola that would be freestanding in the back of the property. And there are actually pictures of that, not in this one, but sort of in the next application, where then there's also wanting to put a, you know, so it would be pergola down here and pergola up there. And, you know, we only see from that the dimensions of the pergola and a little bit from the sketch, the type of pergola that he would want to put. From my perspective, a pergola on top of a second story is not an appropriate structure within the historic district. It's not something that would be, you know, recommended. An additional pergola in the back, if it was removable. I know he has a lot of temporary structures there, you know, with, but if it's difficult to say with the plan where it would extend. There are no indication of dimensions, and it's not typically something that you would have in the historic district in the back. So I would definitely, you know, and it seems to be a fairly large pergola, 16 by 24, you know, 12 foot tall. So when you say it's non-functioning and decorative only to hang flowers or plants, so clearly no to the roof pergola. And clearly wanting to add a pergola would require more information. It also contradicts a little bit the other application, which talks about putting some shed in the backyard, which is a kind of a different conversation. So on this application, I would be a clear no for the roof pergola. And instinctive, you know, and the second one would be, this means that the additional pergola on the back, since we don't have additional information, that is one that we sort of, it would show a lot of density in that backyard. But again, it is a temporary transparent structure when it's just a wood pergola, which would be reversible. So if the design were simple, that is not something that necessarily would be a negative.
And I don't know, is it going closer to the building or closer to the back of the yard? Like
We don't know. I mean,
Right.
if I go and jump, if this is a standalone application, we don't know.
Right.
And we have no sense of scale. If I jump to the next application showing the picture of the backyard, there really isn't that much. It's you know, and it's going to be 12 feet tall. So now there's kind of this parasol. So it's going to be sort of a massive wood structure just right there.
Right.
And then we have an issue of scales and all of that in the back. But a pergola is typically, you know, a lightweight, removable, transparent, since you can see through it. So it would be definitely, I would not recommend the roof pergola. That would be a no, it's not appropriate. I would say a backyard pergola would just need more information about where it's located and potentially be reduced in size, because it's a very big one that they're proposing. So, and this, I'm not talking about the other, just to focus on this one.
Right. So again, it would be 2 votes.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just focus on the roof one. Does anybody have any other comments about the roof one?
Well, I have a general question. Is a pergola, is it appropriate for the historic area? I mean, are these intended to come down, or are they intended to be permanent?
And
I think we're saying the roof pergola is definitely not appropriate in the Historic Area Commission. I think the yard pergola is going to be factored in on size, you know, kind of the scope and size of it
Yeah.
Gotcha.
compared to, you know, all else that's happening in that area. So, but the roof one would not be appropriate.
Yeah.
So I think the roof one should be maybe easy for us to do a vote on, unless Bill or I don't know where Kevin went, but if Bill or Kevin had any questions on that.
Well, excuse me. This is Bill. Is this one application?
Yeah, for the two pergolas, yes.
Okay, then I would just deny it.
Well, we could deny one and we could table the other one so he can get us more information.
Well, he can do that. He can appeal regardless, but it's one application, and we're all leaning towards one large part of it is inappropriate, not acceptable.
I know, but the first
Is that
application,
incorrect?
the first application we did two separate votes on one application, right? We gave him permission to do one thing, we tabled the other. We could do the same thing here.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the first application was we did two votes on one application. So I feel like we could do it here too. We could vote on the roof pergola, however we want to vote. And then we could table the yard pergola and for additional information.
I would recommend that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just do the roof pergola. So it sounds like the roof pergola, we're doing a deny. Our motion is to deny the roof pergola of this application.
I second. Oh, I did it again.
No, you did a great job. I made the motion. You did a good job.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, I don't know, where'd he go? Is Kevin frozen? Is he there?
I think he may have stepped away for a minute. There he is.
Oh, okay. Kevin.
I'm here.
All right, so we're gonna do, we're splitting this application into two votes. We're gonna do the vote for the roof, and then we're gonna vote for the yard. So it sounds like I made a motion to deny the roof pergola and Justin seconded. So, what's your vote there?
An aye is to reject the roof pergola. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Aye.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
Aye.
thank you. And I will also say we're rejecting. All right, then the second piece, the yard pergola, we could table, which gives the applicant just to provide additional information required by us no more than 10 days prior to the next scheduled public meeting. So I say I'm going to make the motion to table the yard pergola, but the information with specific information needed, which is
Size and materials and design.
what was your first one? Layla, height? Is that what you said?
Size, yes.
Oh, size, yeah.
Footprint and height, because it's too big the way it's drawn anyhow. So footprint, height, and design.
And location?
And location, yeah. I would
Yes.
like to see it within I want like a little picture of what it's gonna look like where it's going, yeah.
Also pavers. What's the surface treatment underneath this thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
'cause if it's a pergola just on, on the,
Grass.
that's one thing. So it should, and that would be, in terms, that would be appropriate. If it becomes a whole sort of structure with paving, then we're turning this into a sort of backyard pave, which is a different application. You're correct. Kevin.
Also, are there lights associated with it?
Yeah, I don't know why he wants it back there. Okay, that's all right. Lights. All right, so we're gonna table with specific information being size, footprint, design, location, the surface treatment under it, and are there any lights? That's our motion. Can I have a second?
I second.
All right, Kevin, you won. I'm gonna say yes. Justin,
Aye, yes.
Bill,
Aye.
thank you. Kevin,
Aye.
thank you. All right. So that's one of the applications. Then there was a second application at the same property.
Okay, and then Tom Chambers is in the room to discuss that one.
Okay. All right, so Kathy has your information on file already. So you're here to discuss the 124 Delaware Street in regards to the shed. Is that correct, Tom?
Yes, yes.
Now, you're not the owner of the building, right?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So what is your relation to the application, just so we have some content?
To Al?
No, to this application, like, are you the bike shop owner?
Yeah, yes. I'm the business owner, and we're in the process now of trying to get the okay to do just a very small bike rental operation right in between where New Elise is, where that courtyard structure is with the. I think you probably know where I'm talking about. It has like the like the black iron structures there, and that it looks like a small little courtyard area there.
Okay. So, all right. So this structure, now I see that there's two pictures of structures given to us here. So this is, were there any materials on this? I'm going to assume it's all wood, but.
Yeah, I mean, whatever kind of guidelines we need to fall into, we're more than willing to do that. I mean, we were debating whether to purchase a pre-constructed structure or actually just build it right there on the premise.
This is Bill. Can I make a recommendation? I mean,
Sure.
that's just a prefab that you can pick up in the parking lot at Home Depot, and it does not fit the tone in any way.
Right.
So I would recommend build a place. I take it this structure is to house and secure the bikes in the evening hours.
Yes, that's correct, Bill.
Okay. I would just have something more appropriate drawn up. I'll bet you our architectural experts could not describe what that building on the left is, because I can't.
I'm not seeing. Oh, okay. Yeah, those were just general pictures I use as just kind of an example of maybe what the entrance would look like. I mean, if you could.
Well, I would.
Go ahead.
I would build in place, assuming you get permission. I would build in place and do something that's, at least evocative of the general tone of the area, and then you could accomplish your thing and your desire. But is this big ass bikes, or do I have the wrong?
Yeah, that is the one. You're correct. That is the one.
Yeah.
We're talking about now.
You're not planning on putting a sign up that says big ass bikes, are you?
No, it's actually badass bikes. There's a play on words with a logo that we have, but no, we can abbreviate or change that in any way that we need to.
Big bikes.
So I think, I mean, I think there's several things. One is the size, right? And, you know, the size, the location on the property, a list of the materials, but I'm going to just say wood. And
There's
the sign, whatever sign you're going to have, you have to present that as
Well, yeah, I think the sign would be, and I'm thinking more in the area of where the courtyard would be, rather than putting a sign on the structure. I personally would rather not advertise where the bikes are being housed. I mean, if we were housing them in a structure on that property, it would be secure. We'd have a security system and everything that we would need on that. But I would rather not advertise that, hey, all these cool bikes that we're renting are being housed here. So I would be, I wouldn't have any interest at all at putting a sign on the structure. I would, if I was going to use any signage at all, it would probably be something that would be temporary, so to speak, like maybe, and again, if that falls in, you know, if that falls in alignment with what the town requires, but something like an A-frame sign that I could use when we're there renting, and when we're not there, just have it not be there. I don't think we would want any kind of permanent sign there in that courtyard area where we would like to rent the bikes from.
Well, that simplifies things quite a bit.
If I may, I do have a question, just because we're sort of winding up into, this is like a hybrid application. It's looking like an application of a private individual saying, I want to put a shed in my backyard, but this is actually a commercial, an additional commercial, between quotes, application in the back of a yard of a building that's
a business,
visible, of business that's visible from the, you know, the public right of way in terms of like the park. And the bikes aren't going to sort of be lifted over the fence to get into the shed. So there's going to be like a pathway, I guess, to be able to put these. So this is almost, in a sense, a mini addition, even if the mini addition looks like a shed and it's a commercial addition. And it has to be looked at in terms of like, where is it going to fit, what the visibility, and what it is being, you know, because of the use. And this application, the way it is here, is an application for if this were personal property and one would want to put a little shed in the backyard. So we would need a plan showing like, where is it going to be put, what's the scale, what, if anything, is going to be changed to, you know, because now all that is sort of like grass wherever there is, but also dirt. Where is access going to be from, because it's a commercial use? So it has to be revamped into a very different type of application, and the scale it's going to have with what's adjacent, I think, is something that has to be looked at. And I don't even know how that would fit with the previous pergola, except to transform all of his backyard into a series of structures, which would not be appropriate. Because at that point, you just wind up having all these extending buildings slowly but surely going into and in proximity to the park. When you look at what's on either side. So this is clearly one that in this current state would not be approved. I would not recommend approving, rather, let's put it that way, because of all the comments that I've made before.
Right. So again, this one we could table, right? And then get
We could table it, but we need to give him a list of requirements.
Right. So I
We
think
don't have to get an architect, but he does have to show us where it's going to sit, its footprint, not just a picture, because this shed could be 6 by 8 or 60 by 80. We don't know based on proportion. We need some numbers. And as Leila mentioned, how do customers access, or how does he access at the end of the day? So does the gate have to be changed? Is there a walkway that needs to be put in? It's probably not that complicated, but he has to simplify it for us.
Sure. And because the other application has that pergola in that area too, we kind of need a full scale drawing of what the whole thing's going to look like.
Yeah.
With or without a pergola. So, so Tom, just to make sure you're clear on what we're looking for. So, I mean, you've seen, I think you've been on since the beginning, so you saw some of those drawings and things. So
yes, correct.
You know, so we're just trying to better understand, you know, we call them renditions. Like, what is it going to look like when it's in that plot?
Right. I got you.
Visually. So we need, the footprint, the plan, the scale, the access, I think does become important back there. And then a full list of materials.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, if you look at the picture, and I know what you need. I kind of figured that from the beginning of the meeting, looking at
Sure.
some of those blueprint sketches, and that's not a problem for me at all. But if you look at the middle picture where it says area for housing structure, I think
Mhm.
generally speaking, when I was speaking with Al, we were talking about putting it. If you look, I don't know if you can see it clearly in the picture, but the rear part of that fence, it kind of goes back into a corner, on the right corner. Yeah, that the picture on the upper left right now where it says rear of Norlees, that's not a straight like square back there. The right side goes back further than the left side. So what we were talking about doing is, yeah, that you see it better there,
Yeah.
is maybe putting the structure obviously closer to where the right side extends back further. And obviously you have that path that leads to those restrooms there that goes all the way up to the part where we would be displaying the bikes. And on that path, I think we were just talking about maybe just having something that just comes from that path into the entrance of the structure. And we also talked about probably part of that fence would need a different, we would need some kind of, entrance in and out of that. I don't know if we would be replacing it if we did it with the same kind of fence. We would just need a gate kind of thing to get in and out of the structure back there.
Jeff, what would he need to do? Well,
The first thing he's going to have to do is figure out how high the floor of his shed's going to be, because he's at that location. He's at elevation 10 in the floodplain. So
Okay.
it's your first thing is get a civil engineer. I mean, and then he can make you a nice plan, and you can try to figure out where to put that shed.
Okay. Is there, Jeff, is there something that you could provide me that what I actually would need to make this work? I mean, I'm kind of in the dark as far as any of that goes. Even as far as like how it, you guys would like it to look, structure and, aesthetically speaking wise.
Well, it's a very difficult place. I cannot imagine how you can make it work in this backyard, because you're several feet below base flood elevation, so your bike should be lifted up about as high as that fence. But I can describe how it would have to look in a different lot in this historic district,
And we can also send the guidelines, which very clearly, when you put about addition and putting things in, it clearly tells you what you need to supply, which is plans and drawings and photographs and materials. So we can send you a link to that.
Yeah, that would be great.
It's on the city website, actually. You have been on since the beginning, so you saw the graphics that I showed that were sort of like a supplement. But on the City of Newark City of Newcastle website, if you go into the Hack Commission, the documentation is there.
Okay. Is there anywhere specifically I want to look for that? And what I mean by like look wise, as far as like, let's hypothetically say that I own this property and I said, hey, I just want to put a shed in the back of this property. And I'm excluding my idea for housing the bikes for a bike rental business. But if I was to put like a shed structure there, I'm sure there's some kind of guidelines that the town wants me to follow as far as what materials I want to use, how it should look. Is there something that I can look at to say, okay, I see what kind of parameters I need to follow in to make this thing work?
I've just been sharing my screen. I'm going to actually share the desktop so you can see when I sort of go around. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so you go to City of Newcastle, newcastlecity.delaware.gov under governments. There's a tab that says Historic Area Commission.
Okay.
When you click on that tab, it brings you, I bumped myself out of it.
Okay.
Historic Area Commission. When you scroll down, you'll have the Historic Area Commission Design Guidelines and Standards. And that'll take you to all of the guidelines that include, like, if you want to do new construction, it gives you kind of all of these design guidelines would tell you what kind of material is appropriate, if you're putting new additions, new constructions, and that you can sort of see all of that.
Okay,
That's on the website, so you'll find that there.
okay,
Okay.
okay,
And,
no problem.
All right, so, I'm making a motion to table. And Tom was clear with, what information he needs to provide to us 10 days before the next meeting, so you can get on the agenda.
Okay,
And you can work with Jeff and Layla, obviously, if you have additional questions.
okay.
and Layla's going to turn on the light. Layla realized she's been there in the dark since I turned
I
on the
know.
light.
So that's my recommendation to table. And the applicant will provide the additional plan, scaling, access, materials, footprint, via drawings and such 10 days prior to the next meeting.
Which means he
Okay.
has to move pretty quickly. That's 20 days or so from now, so.
Correct.
Okay.
Ah, yes, there we go.
All right, can I have a second on that motion?
Second,
Who was that?
Kevin.
Thank you. All right, so we're gonna do a vote. Justin?
Aye.
Laura's an aye. Bill? Kevin?
Aye.
All right, well, we appreciate your time, Tom. We know you've been on the line since the beginning, but hopefully that beginning actually was helpful so you could see what we're looking for.
Absolutely.
Great, and
Have a good evening.
we'll look forward to seeing you in September.
All right, awesome. Thank you all. Have a great
All right,
night.
thanks, Tom. Take care.
Right, take care.
All right, so the last one is some guy who owns Jessup's Tavern.
Back on the hot seat again.
Back,
Welcome
I'm
to the
back
hot seat.
here. No, 116 Delaware Street. So this is Justin's property at Jessup's Tavern, and he's looking to put an eave, I think, on front of the secondary piece of his building, 116, right?
Correct. Yep. So should I talk about it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Please.
It's fairly simple. Well, I'll just say it's simple. But obviously, Jessup's to the left there has a pentive. It's been there for as long as I remember, including the Green Frog. And then 116, which actually houses what you all know as the Dutch dining room and ice cream, et cetera, doesn't have a pentive. And our intention in the future is to continue to use those 4-pane windows there on the left-hand side of 116 to do our ice cream, as we have been doing for forever. The idea was to put a pentive there, literally the same material, cedar tiles, dimensions, on top of. Obviously, it's going to be raised slightly to be obviously, because otherwise you put it directly there and go right into the windows. But yeah, I think that's Layla.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, the intention is to put one there. And actually, for full disclosure, in the last couple of days, I've decided whether I wanted to do it or not. But I thought, and I asked Kim this, and she could shoot me for bringing her into this, but if I'm able to, see if I can get it approved, and then correct me if I'm wrong, which I probably should know, whether or not I decide to do in the future, I would have the approval, or is there a statute of limitation, or is there a limit for the building and the hack approval? Obviously, that's the second part of the equation. Obviously, the first part is whether it's approved or not. But whether or not I do it, is that sort of a requirement right after I get approved, or am I able to use that approval when I decide to do it?
How long? Yeah, I always forget. How long does our approval stay?
I think there had been this conversation, Jeff, correct me if it's wrong. Normally, the approval sunsets, it was supposed to sunset with the permit application, but I believe they extended that to like an absurdly long time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Jeff.
it used to go on forever.
Right.
Yeah.
there was no limit, and now there is actually a time limit on hack, and I don't know it off the top of my head.
I thought originally we talked about 2 or maybe 5. I remember it was a
Yeah,
whole
it's
conversation.
it's a couple of years anyway, Justin.
Oh,
At
it's,
least
oh,
a
it's
couple
years.
of years.
Okay.
Yeah. I would have erred on the side of like, let it die with the permit, or let's see, 1
Right.
year, and they're saying 5 years. Like, so many things can change, you know?
And having a permit doesn't mean you have to do it. We don't
No.
punish people for not doing changes to their house.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing is for like the permits, if the permit expires and you decide, well, I want to do it, 1 day later, then you just have to re-go, not to necessarily hack, but just building
Right.
permits, you just have to resubmit.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm reading, it says expiration of historic review certificate. It says the historic
Right.
review certificate expires when the building permit expires.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
If the
so they,
building permit has expired, a new application must be submitted for review.
yeah, but the building permit itself, I think, has a fairly long shelf life.
Yeah, so that's
In-
Jeff's
in-
department.
Right.
Yeah, I kind of in the process of this, I thought that I kind of wanted to know that as a lesson in case, somebody gets approved and they decide to do it 5 years from now. Is that okay? But anyway, great. Well, so getting back to the task at hand, the intention was to have the Pentive there to maybe protect people standing there to get ice cream from rain and sun. In the meantime, I've realized that it's going to do neither of those things realistically, because, the yellow thing is the sun and it moves, and rain tends, especially in the last couple of days, tends to go where it wants to. So it'd be more aesthetic. And we're at the end of the season as well. So I'm sort of, and it costs money, and I'm just wondering, I kind of wanted to know if it's even something I could do, get approved for it, and then possibly do it.
Now, your intent, to clarify, is you
Mhm.
would match the depth and the slope. I mean, obviously, it would go higher, but you would
Correct.
match the depth and
Correct.
probably the slope of your current roof, and it'll be the same material, so it'll be like a wood
Correct.
structure with cedar.
Yeah. If you could rip that off, extend it, and raise it up, and put it on the front of 116, that's my intention. Whether it be good or not is what you guys can help me with, but that's the intention. So hopefully that helps keep the historic nature of, obviously, easy for me to say, but Jessup's is obviously important to me and probably others in a certain degree. So I want to make sure I'm not messing with my own my own look. But so there it is. Even if you have recommendations to tell me this is a dumb idea, I'd appreciate that too.
No, I mean, I think from looking, pent roofs are things that were built, put on buildings, to serve particularly that specific purpose, and they have been done on other buildings. So I think I would say, as long as, and you did note it, you said in the application, it's not like an extension, you would raise it to be at the proper height. So I would say, as long as it was to match, to be in the appropriate location, but match the depth and the slope and the materials of wood and wood shakes, this is something that would be appropriate at that location, because it is also, reversible. And it actually may have actually been here sometime at some point.
Yeah, I'm beginning to think that now. I'm looking at the picture a little closer.
It all depends on looking at, is there that line? Is that just a line where there was perhaps some treatment at the masonry that was done at some point,
Right.
or there's something with different exposures, but it would not be sort of atypical.
Gotcha.
So that would be my recommendation, Laura. But is there a question that in terms of if since he cannot vote, then you don't have a quorum to be able to make a determination on this application, because you just have 2 HAC members?
No, we have 3. Bill,
Oh, yeah.
Kevin, me.
What? Yeah. Oh, you do have Bill. I forgot Bill's on the line, so there are 4. My bad.
I just think you need a majority of the quorum, so you'd need
2 out of.
two votes for it if the 3 people were there and 1 recused.
Okay. I wasn't sure on that point, but that's smooth because Bill is with us.
Okay, any questions?
Who are these Jessup people?
No good.
Just a new business in town. You never know if they're going to be able to stay in. I think it
Well-
looks great. I think the idea is great. It matches up. I think we got to turn it into a motion and give it approval.
So I'm looking at the Newcastle Historical Society actually had your properties as their Wednesday Find It. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, they had, you should look it up. So there's an old picture of your building.
Okay.
And it did not have an eave. I'll just tell you that.
Yeah, it did
But
not
there's
have,
an older,
yeah, it did not have a tent.
Yeah.
the picture was taken not 200 years after the building was put up, so.
Right.
No, this is an old, right, I'm sure, but I'm just saying, like, this picture, it's just funny how I was just looking at the picture the other day, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, pentrons like that come and go in some cases.
it's a
but they would have been
historical-
appropriate as an addition, yeah. They have existed on buildings of that type and of that, and of that period. And they were,
Sure. So, all right, so we just need a motion. The motion would be to approve the application as presented. And, that just means depth and slope, wood and wood shapes.
And adjusted height.
Yes.
there is, let me share the screen again. You might want to consider one thing is that if you see, because these are very rustic shakes, I don't know what is the roof currently on 116. It's not really clear from this picture, but you might want to go because you might want to go with something that's a cedar shake, but not as rustic.
Oh, I see
So
what you're saying.
more
So
cedar shingle than a cedar
match the
shake,
roof,
so that
match the
yes,
roof.
so that
Okay.
there's some concurrency in there. 'Cause it's not-
Okay, that's a very good point. And that's okay? Is that the less
Yeah.
rusticness of it? Okay, great.
less rustic because you want to have you want to have consistency within this building, not consistency across. It's not consistent with some.
Exactly. That's exactly what I want to make sure I'm doing.
So
Okay.
you could go with it would be wood, but it would rather than be a cedar shake, could be more like closer to cedar shingle. So not as
Okay. Perfect.
Okay, so I made the motion. Justin he has to abstain.
Oh, come on.
So who wants the second?
I second.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Laura's approving. I'm a yes. Phil?
Aye.
Thank you. And
Approving.
Kevin, yeah. Kevin, you're a yes, I'm assuming, since you seconded the motion.
Aye.
Okay. All right, so you just need to find out from Jeff how long the building permit stays in force, because that's how long we stay in force.
Well, I mean, not to belabor the point, but I'm either going to do it now, consider it now, or consider it in the spring, or
Right.
not at all. So if as long as it's been a year, then I won't bug you again with it.
And the building permit expires a year after it's,
Oh,
issued.
okay. Okay.
And then if you don't build it by then, the historic review certificate expires. But
Gotcha.
if you want to build exactly the same thing, staff level can renew it again for another year.
Gotcha.
Right.
The HAC review, so it's not. That's why I just spit out 2 years to start with. I do not know how long you could play that game, but at least.
Oh,
2
no.
years.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be sooner than later.
Okay, so I believe that that is it on our agenda this evening. So we tabled a lot, so I'm assuming we're going to be having a September meeting with the tables. And I was talking to Layla too about kind of regrouping again around the application. We had started that back earlier in the year. So, we're going to see if we can get back to working on our application. We went through a bunch of applications and she was going to take all our input and,
Right.
so we're trying just to get back there, but that'll probably be over the next month or two. So thanks. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Let me just make sure there's nobody, Kim, there's nobody else in the waiting room, right, who wants to chat with us?
There's one person in there with the name is V30, but I don't see a hand raised. If anybody has a question or a comment, they need to raise their hand. Don't see anything.
Maybe it's the guy who just wanted to give us his address.
All right, so with that, I make a motion to
What? Oh,
adjourn.
could I say one quick thing?
Sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
Just to be a jerk.
No, it's okay.
I had email, and it'll be more of a statement just for future thought. I'll say I am going to be an electric car. It looks like they're trying to put in charging stations. My simple thought was now next month or 3 years from now, we whether or not we have a say in the matter as to what these things look like, where they're located. Should we have a say in the matter, or is it just it is what it is, and this is a waste of a discussion?
I would say they're streetscape. So just like we had to say, you know, if somebody's putting lights on their wall, you know, when there's a comment, Jeff, about they were going to come and move the gas, you know, the gas valves to make them more accessible, where should they go? And we had that conversation, and they can be fairly intrusive. So I would say this is definitely something that PAC should be looking at and thinking about. We can look at how other historic districts are doing it.
Sure.
But yeah, that's something that, you know, it's a physical, if we look at benches and, you know, and features like that, you should definitely be, I mean, I'm using the royal we, PAC should definitely be looking at these kind of structures and giving input.
Yeah, I bring it up as maybe time-saving measure that we have, you know, some kind of precedence or, you know, guidelines. So if somebody does want to put, you know, what looks like a gas station pump in front of their house, you know, we say to them, you know, and real quick in front of, just to jump back to 116 for a second, that, you know, I don't, you know, the picture up, and you don't have to look through this now, but behind that bush, they are putting a gas main right there on the street. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's the way it's going to be. That's, I guess that's sort of an example of what happens if somebody puts what looks like a gas main in front of their house to charge their car, and they try to run a cable across the sidewalks. Of course, that's probably a Jeff issue. Anyway, but I digress. My point is, I think this is what's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years, and it might be a good idea to know what we're supposed to do about it. I mean, I'm obviously for it.
Didn't you say MSC? Did MSC have a meeting about this, or what?
They did, and you know, from what Pam Patone, I spoke with her. She's right. You know, don't hold me to this, but what she said was they were thinking about putting some out in front of the trustees building in the new parking lot, or across from the tennis courts in the parking lot. Obviously, that was just speculation on her part, but I think they were eyeballing that. You know, much as I am an advocate for electric cars, but at the same time, in front of the trustees building, I want to make sure that thing looks appropriate. That's it.
So Jeff, who would make sure that MSC knows they're going to have to talk to us about that?
They know.
Okay. All right.
And Justin, I think they were, when I heard Pam talking, she's talking about putting them in that new parking lot that's going in on 3rd Street.
Oh, that's great.
Not in front of the trustees building, but putting them in the parking lots.
That would be better. Yes. She did say those words. So I just wanted to make sure if she was going down the road that we went, okay, whoa.
Yeah.
As an historical reference, 120 years ago, when you recharged your horse at night, you took him to a stable.
That's a good point.
So there might need to be.
I don't have a stable.
That we then have cords across the sidewalk.
Oh yeah, I know that's horrible. That's not going to happen. Shouldn't happen.
That's a hazard in of itself, but.
Of course. Okay. Well, that was it. I just wanted to.
This is Bill. Just quickly, on your thinking with all this, much like when it was determined and enacted legislatively with the National Communications Act, where municipalities had nothing to do with whether or not a cell tower would go in the place that the FCC wanted it. You are likely to have something along those lines. I'm not saying it'll be draconian, But there's going to be, with the coming of the electric car, a uniform way nationally to deal with the problem. So that's just another thing to think about. But
Yeah.
it's going to happen that way. You can book it.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But thanks for bringing it up. I know you did send an email, and so, and some people do have structures outside their homes with electric in it. I've seen,
And
cars.
some places in Europe have they've gone the route of making it look like a bollard. But that requires a lot of municipal infrastructure that, like people say, well, I'd have bollards, but the bollards, if you open the bollard, then you can turn it into a charging station. But that, that's kind of a different level of conversation, and that's more happening in Europe and parts of Asia than here. But I can definitely do a quick search, just sort of like to put that in the background and see
just
how it's being thought about in different places.
gotcha.
Okay, thanks. Anything else? All right, so I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:29. Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a good
All right.
evening, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
September.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.